Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Helen Sernett. And I'm so happy she said yes to our interview today. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. What a beautiful day. It's the right time to have our interview. And I would love to introduce you to the audience, of course.
That
Okay.
sounds perfect.
You are the founder and host of the Sleep Lists podcast, created to help listeners achieve restorative sleep. Inspired by your own struggles with insomnia and anxiety, you developed the podcast when you didn't find the right audio tool to help you to sleep. I don't know how to say this, but welcome to the Inspired podcast, Helen Sernett.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope you are well rested today.
Oh, yes, I can answer your question. I had a night sleep until I think it was 6 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. And then I had a little nap in between. I'm ahead of you with my time zone here. So I had the nap before my first podcast interview. It was like 4 p.m. 4 p.m.
Nice.
Mhm. Is it okay for your sleep list? For
I
your
mean,
sleep.
yeah, I think
Mm.
I like to encourage people to get their sleep. Like I don't I'm not there's lots of science about the optimization of sleep, and while I find that really interesting, I'm more on the spectrum of 50% of Americans anyway, actually more like 60% of Americans report being underslept. So they sleep less than 7 hours a night. So that's probably pretty common across the Western world. And I suspect that most of us are not getting enough sleep. So forget optimizing. Let's just get enough.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And I
so naps
Mhm.
do that. And so I'm a big fan of naps, and especially when you're healing, if you're recovering from anything physically, emotionally, traumatically, whatever it is, our bodies need a lot of sleep to do that.
Oh, I totally agree. The question is if we allow ourselves to do so. And in Germany, we have the saying, sleep is the best medicine. You know this?
This is
Right?
a great saying. I feel like, unfortunately, the more prevalent conversation about or expression about sleep in the United States is, oh, I can sleep when I'm dead, which is not true. But it's this idea of go, 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 and always be doing. And I like to push back against that and say, nope, we need to spend a third of our lives sleeping.
Absolutely. I love sleeping and resting and relaxing. And I call this also self care. It's a part of self care,
Yeah.
taking care of yourself. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What personal experiences led you to create the Sleep Lists podcast, and how has it evolved since its inception?
Yeah. So the podcast came about literally as me trying to answer my insomnia. So I had a laundry list of physical and mental health symptoms and issues, many of which are considered sort of chronic or like ongoing diseases. And I I didn't know how to address them all. It was like if I were to medicate for all of them, I'd be taking tons and tons and tons and tons of medicine, some of which would not go well with each other. I'm not against medicine. I just don't I tend to get all of the side effects, like whatever the side effects are that are listed of medicine, I tend to be very sensitive to getting those. So I try to limit my prescriptions so that if I really do end up needing a prescription, I can hopefully use it. Um, and so I was trying to figure out what to do for myself as I was just sort of broken and not sleeping well. I really had lost any kind of sense of circadian rhythm. I was waking, I was awake all night, 2 to 3 nights a week sometimes. I'd be up pretty much the entire night. I would sleep during the day, sometimes I wouldn't. So I was just horrifically sleep deprived and constantly in a brain fog. And I also was experiencing anxiety and depression, which tends to ignite in one's brain when one's trying to fall asleep. And so I needed something to just kind of stop the voices in my brain or the bunnies in my brain or the monkey mind. There's lots of ways to think about it and all of those negative thoughts. I just didn't have the tools to quiet my own mind. And so I was looking for those in the kind of emerging sleep podcast world. And I was trying very hard to find something that resonated with me, that worked. And I tried stories, too interesting. I tried noise, not enough words. I needed words. And I just couldn't find what I was looking for. So I made my first sleep list just for myself. I counted from 1 to 500 slowly and put a little soundtrack underneath it. And I started using that, and that became the first episode of Sleep Lists.
I
So
love.
that's what was going on for me at the time. And it helped me sleep. And I have much better sleep now. It's not perfect, but I have much, much better sleep now. And have seen a reduction in a lot of my symptoms thanks to getting more sleep.
Wow, that's very encouraging for those seeking for a solution just like you, and you created it. I'm so
Yes.
happy about that.
Yeah. So I have done 3 seasons. I'm working on season 4. Season 4 is taking a long time. I'm switching the format a little bit. It'll still be a list. There'll still be 6 lists per season available, but I also wanted to add in some tips and tricks and information about sleep that folks can listen to during the waking hours.
I love that you picked one topic and then you do everything around that topic.
Yeah, that's the idea. And I mean, sleep is so important. I think a lot of your listeners are probably very high functioning, they're goal oriented, they want to get inspired to do their work and their best performances and do the best in the world, for the in betterment of the world. And we can't really be our best selves without good sleep. And that's what I encourage folks to do. So whatever you're setting your goals to do, whether that's physical goals that you're trying to achieve as an athlete, or just trying to crush your goals at work or start a new company, you actually do need sleep. Even though it can be very demanding in terms of the hours of work you have to do, you really can't do that well without good sleep. And so I encourage everyone to get inspired to enjoy sleep and to not look at it as an interruption to their day.
I love that. Thank you so much. So that means we can learn. We can learn again to appreciate the hours of resting, relaxing, sleeping.
Yes. Well, and it's so cool how when you get good sleep, your brain actually learns better. So one of the major drivers, I mean, I was incredibly insomniatic. I think that's the word. I was incredibly lacking in sleep. I was totally sleep deprived. And so I needed sleep. But one of the things for me personally wasn't so much that I felt like I needed sleep, because I was still kind of in that mindset of I can sleep when I'm dead. I was more driven by the fact that my depression and anxiety had gotten rather debilitating. And I knew that to change my neurological pathways, I needed to practice, and I needed to have the energy to practice new ways of thinking and trying new things and then solidifying those practices, and that sleep was required for that. So, I mean, I wasn't getting enough sleep, but that wasn't even my main motivator. I still hadn't learned to appreciate sleep. I was mostly just trying to not be self-paralyzed by my own depression and anxiety.
I understand. So you never gave up. This is amazing. So this is why you are successful. Yes.
I try to be successful, some days more than others, but yes.
I love it. Okay, let's have a look at my next question I prepared. Can you share a story of how Sleepless has made a difference for someone struggling with sleep issues?
Oh my gosh, my favorite review came, I think, during season 3, so just this last season that I put out, and it was from a war veteran who had said that they had struggled continuously for over a decade with sleep, and that the podcast really helped them sleep, and that they were using it regularly to get good sleep at night.
I
Yeah.
love that. We have to think of those people facing trauma and or war, whatever. When I think of my grandparents in World War II, for example, and they had to run to the, I don't know how the word in English, bunker, or the thing where you hide in when
Yeah,
there are sirens,
the bomb
or
shelter.
yeah, something like that, and they spend the nights. So the sleep is, of course, always interrupted, and it's,
Ugh,
yeah. So
yeah.
this is a great idea. You reminded me of that episode. Okay, I have another question for you. What future plans do you have for Sleepless, and how do you hope to expand its impact on mental health and well-being?
Oh, what a great question. I I wanna grow the audience for sleep lists. I feel like as it stands right now, the lists themselves are tools that people can use, especially in the early stages of trying to overcome a sleep deprived state. And I love that I have listeners who use them regularly. I have listeners that use them to get back to sleep when they wake up in the middle of the night. And so I just want that to be out there with more people and more individuals finding it, using it, enjoying it, and adding it to their toolbox. Sleepless does not have to be the exclusive tool that somebody uses to fall asleep, but I hope that it can be a frequently used and relied upon tool in folks' toolboxes.
Wow, I love how you use the word toolbox and tool. I would have said add-on. It's an add-on, and
Yeah.
I love that so much. So people can use it if we are aware that it exists, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned it. So where can we find you?
Yeah. So sleeplists.com. So that's sleep starts with an S, SLEEPLISTS.com. Also on most of the available streaming platforms for podcasts. It's audio only right now. Season 4 should have some video as well, which will be exciting. But I don't really want people to be looking at screens while they're trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, it's not possible. Thank you so much for sharing. No, it's not. It's, yeah, it can be. It's like when people are reading books, right? You read a book, then you fall asleep.
Yeah, and it's better to have something like that analog, or just like that you're listening to, not something that's stimulating your eyes. I know a lot of people fall asleep to having like the sound of the TV in another room. Um, so it's kind of like that, but it's just predictable and you know that it will be trying to list you to sleep. I also I think about topics for my lists a lot, and I love food, and so I'm always like scrapping food ideas because I don't want people to be hungry when they're trying to fall asleep.
Yes, we can dream about having dinner or something. Yeah, something, and then we are satisfied, right?
Well, one hopes, one hopes.
Wow, this is so great. I loved our podcast interview so far. Now it's time for your last thoughts to the audience, of course. Thank you so much.
Yes, I just want to inspire everyone to consider the value of sleep in their lives, to try to dedicate a third of their lives to sleep. It'll help your longevity and help your productivity, and hopefully it'll help you be happier.
Oh, definitely. I will look up your list, your sleeplists.com, you said, and test this for myself, because there's always a better way of
Yeah.
sleeping. And when you say, "Oh, I have a good sleep already," then you can improve it. So please reach out to Helen, check out her website, her podcast. It's everywhere. and I loved our interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I really appreciated our time together.
Thank you, and see you in the next episode.